Brian, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family, and today we are going to be reviewing Stella, Dixit Universe. I don't know if this is a new trend for the Dixit line, if we'll see other Dixit Universe
If there's a whole
games.
universe, there better be more.
Yeah, and it implies some scale here, I think. And this is interesting because we have a history with Dixit. We've played Dixit for a long time, probably back in 2010 we got Dixit.
Man.
And so this kind of a new spin on the Dixit formula and actually using the same Dixit card. So whether you've played Dixit or not, or if you're just looking for party game, if you like really whimsical, weird illustrations, you know.
Yeah.
I've definitely more than once heard people playing this game say something along the lines of, what were these people smoking when they were, making this game? And, if that sells you on this, then maybe keep watching. We'll have a link in the description below that you can check it out. But enough banter. Let's jump into the review.
In Stella, players look at a shared grid of 15 dreamy, whimsical illustrations. Each round, a word is revealed, and everyone secretly marks the cards they think match it. Then one by one, players reveal their picks, scoring points if others chose the same card. But if you name a card that no one else picked, you're out for the rest of the round. After 4 rounds, whoever has the most points wins.
Naturally, you'll want to pick as many cards as you can to maximize your chances of matching, but there's a catch. If you select more cards than anyone else, you're considered in the dark and only score half points unless you match on every single one. So there's this constant push and pull. Go big for more matches or play it safe to avoid the penalty.
Then comes the second half of the round, where players reveal their picks. This part becomes a fun little mind game, deciding which of your choices you're most confident others picked too. Since calling out a card no one else chose knocks you out of the round, you'll want to save your riskier picks for last. However, it only takes one match to score, and matching with exactly one other person triggers a super spark, resulting in an extra point and often a celebratory high five.
Stella plays better at lower player counts than most party games, with 4 to 6 players being the sweet spot. There's no theme linking the mechanics or illustrations, and that unpredictability keeps things interesting.
Skill in Stella isn't about deep strategy, but it is still very present. It's about interpreting strange illustrations, reading people, and managing risk. The game is highly interactive. Every point you earn depends on connecting with other players. And setup is simple. Just hand out player boards, shuffle the deck, and lay out 15 cards.
While easy to teach, as you would expect from a party game, the in-the-dark mechanism and the flow of each round can take a round or two for new players to wrap their heads around. With 15 random illustrated cards and a random word each round, the variability is really high, with every round being unique.
Much like Dixit, Stella's biggest strength is in its dreamy, abstract illustrations that are wide open to interpretation. Just looking at the cards is fun, but trying to figure out how others interpret them adds a unique twist. Matching with other players, especially when you land a super spark, is exciting and gives the game a rewarding, almost celebratory feel. It's also nice that players can study the cards closely without giving anything away, avoiding that issue Dixit had where scrutinizing an image could reveal it wasn't your card. And since only 5 of the 15 cards change each round, players start to build familiarity with the images, helping subsequent rounds run more smoothly.
At first, Stella might seem like an unnecessarily complex spin on Dixit, but the added mechanics work really well to create tension and group dynamics. You're constantly tempted to pick more cards for more scoring chances, but are you picking too many and risking going in the dark? It becomes a bit of a mind game as everyone gauges how bold others are being. And if you do end up in the dark, there's still the fun challenge of trying to shoot the moon by matching on every pick. We also love that the resolution phase isn't just a passive reveal. It asks players to think about the order of their reveals, saving riskier picks for later to stay in the game longer and maximize points.
A lot of party games treat scoring as an afterthought, focusing more on laughs than gameplay. But Stella strikes a great balance between fun and competition. Players can actually try to win, and that competitive edge ends up enhancing the experience rather than getting in the way of it.
Unlike Dixit, Stella doesn't require you to come up with your own clue each round. For some players, that's a huge plus, especially those who don't love the pressure of being creative on the spot. Having a shared word lowers the barrier to entry and keeps things moving, which is exactly what you want in a party game. And while we do enjoy crafting clues in Dixit, we might like Stella even more for how streamlined it feels. It keeps the focus where the fun is, interpreting wild illustrations and syncing up with each other's thinking.
One of the coolest features of Stella is that it's fully compatible with all Dixit cards. If you already own Dixit, you can use your whole collection here. And if you're starting with Stella, you've instantly got access to a whole pool of Dixit expansions. Adding new cards into the game goes a long way in keeping it fresh and fun.
This is a small issue, but the flow of the game, especially how selections work and the risk of going in the dark, can take a round or two to click with new players. It's not overly complex, but the rules aren't quite as intuitive as some of the more instantly accessible party games. That said, we think the extra learning curve is well worth it for the depth and interaction it adds to the experience.
And while Stella actually plays better than Dixit at lower player counts, the 6-player cap does feel a bit low for a party game. We get why they made that choice. More players would probably lead to too many matches, which would take away from the tension of unique picks. But it does mean there are a lot of larger game night scenarios where Stella just won't be an option. And now let's get to our personal ratings for Stella.
So Stella is an interesting game because I think it's one that would have been very easy for us to never have played simply because it was hard to justify getting another game that was so similar to Dixit. It's like, do I need another game that's just like this? It certainly helped the selling point that's like, well, worst case, it's cross-compatible. I can use the cards.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like when I first saw it come out, and it isn't the first game to try to do variations on what Dixit brought to the table with kind of these types of cards. We've seen Muse, we've seen Mysterium, we've seen Detective Club, which is one I still would really like to try, but it's like out of print. But so it was like, okay, what is this bringing to the table that's particularly new and different? But looking into it more, it was like, okay, there's something kind of interesting going on here. I think in hindsight, I see more of the advantages that I didn't necessarily see when I was looking into it. But man, I have been so pleasantly surprised by this one in our plays of it. Like right from the very first plays, we just had really positive experiences to the point where I think now it is up in my top tier of party games. I don't remember where it landed when we did our ranked party games video, but it feels to me like in that top tier of my favorite party games. And honestly, I think is my favorite Dixit-like game. I think
hot take.
And so I'm actually going to be coming in with an 8 out of 10 here, which is what I would say a high party game score.
Yeah, that is high.
You know, it's hard to compete with the big strategy games, but very high for a party game. And I think I've learned a little bit about myself with this game.
Wow.
It's been enlightening. But the element of not needing to come up with my own clues.
Yeah.
I like that part of Dixit. But I find that in practice, when I'm sitting down to play, I would like rather not have to do that and just be able to engage with like my favorite part of the game, which is looking at these pictures and trying to think of, you know, what are other people going to put? How can I best do it here? And it's a very different dynamic than Dixit. Like Dixit is all about what card would somebody have come up with that clue for? It's this very like reverse engineered, and people that are good at Dixit are good at realizing like, yeah, this might fit the clue, but I don't think they would have come up with that clue from scratch from this card. And Stella is a little bit different because everybody's looking at the same cards with the same clue. And so it's much more of like, what are the connections other people are going to make? And you're trying to justify things, right? Because you want to put a lot of answers. And so even cards that are a stretch, you're like, but it could. And like, I only need one person to, think this. And there's this tension of like, do I do it or do I not? The in the dark thing, I just think works so well. The game, the group kind of calibrates over time, right? To, okay, after the first, sometimes the first round with like a new group, you've got people that like did 3 and people that did 9, and everybody's like, okay, like, you know, but you start pulling towards each other because everybody like wants to go as high as they can,
right?
But they don't want to be the most, which I think is the perfect like kind of tension on top of what you're trying to do with the card selection.
But I love that even if you are the most, if you get them all, like,
exactly,
if you get
when
them
you
all
go
right
in the dark, it isn't like it's not this huge disappointing thing. It's almost an opportunity to have one of the most fun things in the game, which is that shoot the moon and get all of it. And even if you don't completely shoot the moon, you can still have a pretty solid round. Mm-hmm. Like if you still hit on a lot of yours, even with like the reduced points.
Right.
But yeah, this is an interesting game as it goes on with the competitiveness of it. Like when you're going into the final round and it's close, like everything that we're talking about that's like a source of tension in the game is like amped up a little bit. And it's like, okay, how many is this person I'm tied with going to do over there? And like, if you're playing to win, it's like you're trying to outdo them in some way. Mm-hmm. And it just works really well. I know we've talked about one of our favorite things in this game is the super spark mechanic, because of what it does at the table.
Yeah.
Like when you're sitting with a group of 6 people and the person reads off, or they say this card, and they look around and they see like people didn't do it, but then there's the one person that's like, I did, and everybody does the look around of like, is it really just us? And then you realize you get the bonus point.
It is an incredible just group dynamic mechanic. Like it's just so fun every time it happens. And
you were as close as you could be to getting knocked out of the round, and instead you get the best outcome, which is just very fun. So I have been so happy with this one, and so happy that it lets me use all these Dixit cards I have in a new way. And I love Dixit cards, like all the just fun illustrations, and we have a bunch of the expansions. My wife is a huge fan of these styles of games, though I think she still prefers Dixit. If she had to choose. But yeah, it's just fun to, and it works in just a lot of situations. And for people that haven't played a game like Dixit, it's still a really novel thing of like, whoa, these are all unique illustrations that are really kind of weird and dreamy, and we're like cluing off of them. So yeah, I think the Dixit family is kind of a staple in the modern board game party games. But Stella, I think there's probably a lot of people that overlooked this one because it kind of came on the tail end of a lot of games like this. But I do really think it is one of the best.
Yeah, Ryan, I agree with you on that one. I think it really surprised us. It really did. Because again, we love Dixit, still do. But I think this one just it's one of those that I don't think until you actually play it. It's got certain things that maybe you can read the mechanics, but until you're actually in it, do you realize how fun that actually is in a group dynamic? I am also going to be coming in with an 8 out of 10 for Stella. Totally agree with you around that shift from Dixit of rather than trying to find the one card that the person, made the clue for. I just love the shift now to how many of these cards could I connect to the clue, because it allows for some deep stretching of kind of what could, of like in Dixit, you're looking for the best match. In Stella, you're kind of making an argument for how many could you possibly connect in creative ways. And I know there's so many times where what we see it on both sides, where one, you like when you super spark with someone and everyone else at the table's like, what in the world did you see in that? But you two both saw something and we're like,
or
it's
you
that.
saw you had completely different reasons.
Right.
Yeah. And you're like, well, who cares?
Right. But on the flip side, you have other times where, oh my gosh, when you like, this is another just really fun part of the game is the whole, choosing, which card are you going to point to? Like that's a whole just another strategic part. But you oftentimes you want to lead with kind of your strongest selection, and so you lead with your first one. and no one at the table
I
has
think that
it.
happened to you like the first time you
I think
played
it
this
did.
game.
Yeah, and to be fair, not the best feeling, but
It's funny for everybody else.
it is funny, and it's this moment of how did you all not see what I'm seeing? So it kind of has it on
sometimes
both
everybody's
sides.
like doesn't agree with that person, and sometimes everybody goes, "Oh, I didn't look at that closely enough."
Yeah.
There's like literally an object in there that's
Yeah.
Which the looking closely at it is another big thing that I like in this game. I always in Dixit have to like scold people. I'm like, and remember when I reveal them all, don't grab a card and pull it to you to look closer.
Yeah.
Because now everybody knows you didn't put that card in because
Right.
you wouldn't be looking at your own closely. And then they like try to play it off like, oh, I'm going to look at all the cards that close.
Yeah.
I do really like here because these cards so beg for you to look at them in detail and notice all the details. And when you're sitting around a table, it's hard to do that. But at least here, you're not going to spoil anything. You could say, you could pull the card over by you technically, and you're not like ruining anything with the gameplay.
I think also this game just is a lot more, and this isn't, we're not, maybe this is turning into a comparison to Dixit video, but it's, in Dixit, there's just times where the clue can either be too easy or too hard, and in both instances, it kind of leads to a bummer of a round.
Yeah, usually the clue giver feels bad.
Clue giver doesn't feel good in either instance, whereas this one I feel like just delivers a consistent, every round just is consistently enjoyable, I think, for everyone at the table. It takes the pressure off the clue giver delivering this really good clue, which people who love Dixit, like that's their, you're not going to get this in Stella, so you're gonna love that about Dixit. But for the people who have had maybe those bad experiences in Dixit, it removes that, and I think just makes it a lot more consistent in being enjoyable. But yeah, it's just mechanically, there's just multiple things in this game that I love. Scanning the cards, and I am so aggressive in this game. Like I will stretch so far when making connections.
Time in the dark.
I just flip it all over.
Which I will say, it balances it well. Like if you're consistently in the dark, you're probably not going to win.
All right.
Like generally speaking. And so I think it does a good job of, it's not like an optimal strategy to just like hammer the clues.
Right. For sure. And if you're also guessing on the underside all the time, you're going to be like, oh wow, I need to be more aggressive if I'm gonna, get some more points. So you've got that part of selecting cards that's fun. How order you're gonna reveal your guesses, like that's a whole nother just like strategy in the game.
You're trying to stay alive in the round.
Yeah, it is. It's like a knockout almost, which is just such a clever mechanic in it. So I think that's what has led to this game, just working really well in our group. It is one that just was, I think, a surprise, but man, it is very consistent at taking kind of a lot of what we love about these Dixit cards and delivering it in a way that that is really, really fun.
Yeah, I'll close with this thought to that point of its consistency. When you're playing a party game, so many times you really want like the floor of player experience to be pretty high, because it's like you just don't want somebody to have a bad experience, and like you want this to be a very welcoming thing. And that is something that makes Dixit a little hard, is that that thing with like when people either have their clue, everybody gets it or nobody gets it, they just kind of feel bad. And I try to, help them. Like it depends on what cards people had and everything. It wasn't necessarily a bad clue, but I think Stella does a good job of kind of raising that floor to where you are just less likely to have somebody have a really bad experience. I would say probably the biggest place it could happen in this game is that you get knocked out right away in a round and you like miss out on a bunch of points, but it doesn't happen a lot. And hopefully it's more of a kind of funny situation than I guess if it happens a few times in a row, somebody might flip the table, but yeah, I think we've more and more have realized this with party games, at least party games that we're hoping to be able to pull out with like different groups, people we haven't played with before. It really does help to have kind of more trust in the game that it's like, okay, everybody's going to have a pretty good time with this.
Yeah, for sure. So those are our ratings for Stella, but the real question is Stella the right game for you?
If you're looking for a party game that works with a big group, don't enjoy the fuzzy connections between words and images, or love Dixit specifically for the clue writing aspect, then Stella might not be the right fit.
But if you're into imaginative artwork, trying to read other players' minds, and want a competitive party game that really works at lower player counts, then we think Stella Dixit Universe is a fantastic pick.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you think Stella is a game that you might enjoy, we got a link in the description below that you can check it out. We've also got some videos here, including a video we did with my wife of her top games a little while back. I mentioned that she's a big Dixit fan. Spoiler, so you can hear a little bit of our thoughts there, but we will see you in the next one.